Welcome back to another episode on Between the Notes podcast. And with us today is my current partner in crime and over in Nagasaki, well, the virtual Nagasaki that is in Fort Worth, Zach Borichevsky. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for the Russian pronunciation of my name. Yes. Hi, how are you?
What am I supposed
I
to
love
say? I
it.
don't know.
Borichevsky, yes.
Borichevsky.
Zakhar Sergeyevich Borichevsky.
I love it.
I believe it.
And of course, Zach and I know each other from the AVA days, which didn't quite overlap, but we're close enough, So
Back in the day.
it's
Well, you
great
were
to
coming.
see
You were
again,
in
bro.
town to do Bohem in 2009 when I was there.
right.
I think that might be the last time we really
Yes.
hung out.
Well,
That's
I
back
tell
when they
you
still
what,
let
the
me in the
business
building.
is so small that it's like it's weird when like somebody says, "Oh, fill in the blank singer," and when somebody goes, "No,
Right.
never heard of him," you're like, "What? That's weird." It's like everybody kind of
I know
knows
between
everybody.
summer programs and schools and gigs, you're like, we kind of all probably come across each other once, unless you tend to send this. If you sing the same rep, then it doesn't, that doesn't happen so often. But
That's right. That's right.
yeah,
That's right.
right
I
on.
rarely get to become great friends with my baritone brothers. I tend to surround myself with this.
Yeah,
with
too
them.
few of you guys to go around. You got to spread the wealth, baby.
Just
Yeah,
when they
right.
switched to tenor, like Reisinger, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Little shout out to our
Oh
buddy
man.
Ben.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
great.
think
So what are we going to get into here today, fellas?
Well, let's say this. We all have children, right? Zach, you've got two.
Yes.
Brian's got two. I've got one.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of younger singers are always, I can't tell you the number of times I've heard the question, what's it like having a family when you're on the road? How do you balance, having, kids? Like, how do you do that? Is that possible? And I think obviously we need to have a woman on this as part of our panel as well, because I think that perspective of being a mother on the road, certainly when it comes to like the very, very young children, and how early
Sure.
do you go back to it? But I think what makes your situation unique, Zach, is that you are married to another professional opera singer who is very active in her career, and I think that you might have a bit more of a zoomed-in lens on this than some. So, what is life like on the road? And we were kind of joking before, and I think the title of this episode might be "Grandparents to the Rescue." But
Right.
talk a little bit about how you guys balance that life with raising your two young children. They're what, 7 and 4? Is that right?
7 and 4. That's absolutely. I mean, we've taken the initiative to try to do this whole hog. We are on the road probably 80% of the year ish, depending
Yeah.
on how many Met contracts might happen in a given year. But so because of that, basically we have no alternative but to try to homeschool. So the person who is not actively working at any given time, which we're pretty decently able to stagger it so that only one person is full on working at any time. Of course, there's always some preparatory work. There's always work to be done when you're in
Sure.
the business, but actively performing, actively rehearsing. And so the other person is going to be doing homeschooling. So Katie's been doing homeschooling, even though she's been actively performing at La Monet for the past week. But now the next couple of weeks, she'll also have some time at home. They're at home, amazingly,
Well, good.
for the first time in a long time. And they're doing, so she's in on lessons. And
So is she
so we're
doing
doing the
virtual
just because-
homeschooling?
sorry?
Are they with her in over there, or is she
Yeah,
doing
so
virtual home?
Right,
Okay.
we were all together in Brussels
Okay.
until I came here to do this butterfly cake with
Got
Weston
it. Got it.
in Fort Worth. And so when we're all together, which is most of the time, thankfully, like we're able to stagger this so that we're together most of the time. I think we're going to be away maximum 3 weeks from the kids, like at any given time, either of us
Yeah.
in the future.
Wow.
So we're trying to keep it around there. That's the goal. But yeah, so the homeschooling thing is hard to mangle, hard to manage. It gets
Yeah.
mangled sometimes. I think in the course of we'll be able to do it for at least 5 or 6 more years, I think.
Okay.
After that, it's gonna be like, okay, now we might have to stick around in one place, have one person hang out at home, or grandparents again. So the only way
Yeah,
this
I
is
mean, I know
possible,
that's what Sasha Cook and Kelly Markgraf are doing, right? Like,
Right.
he took this job at IU specifically. I mean, also because it was a great job and he wants to do it. But what made sense for their family was that Sasha could take fewer contracts and that money could be offset by what he's making, but also they get the not self-employment health insurance, and all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff
right,
when
right,
you're
right.
self-paying and all that jazz. It's that's quite the expense right there. But yeah, and I think that's there. Anybody, we'd be lucky to have you guys, kind of in their orbit to help out, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Our kids are 10 and 12, so if you give you guys 5 years, it's kind of around the same time, more or less, a little bit older. But we want to make sure that when our kids are in high school, and hopefully um still when they're in college, when they go through college, we get tuition remission, we got all this stuff. We're kind of Bloomington is a really wonderful, kind of small, pretty safe place. And so there were, a lot of families here are here for that very reason, that we're like, hey, we're gonna keep our kids, close and kind of sheltered for a little bit, because the world's going to get out there. They're going to get out in the real world one day, and so I as well kind of let them be children as long as they can be children.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
then
it's
they start
hard.
on their own finding this attitude from within, and I'm not sure how or why that comes up, but I tell you, with a on the precipice of a 15-year-old daughter, she'll be 15 next month.
Right.
It's like you're just barely hanging on to those last moments of like real childhood, and you start to
Yeah.
see like the older teenage sort of personalities start to kind of emerge. And
Right.
it's a split sort of emotion of feeling like excited for what the future holds, but yet, my baby, why are you being so
Yeah.
mean?
Totally.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
imagine the homeschooling part of that is great now, probably, but I'm sure it has its own challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's
Yeah,
Katie singing over there right now, Zach?
she just finished Elettra
Oh,
in
nice.
not Idomeneo. Yeah,
Yeah.
Idomeneo.
You don't
That's the one.
know. Yeah.
Not Ariadante. Ariadante and Idomeneo are mixed up in my head. Totally different operas.
You're right.
Idomeneo, yes. She sang it.
Awesome.
She was in a crazy Calixto Bieto production. Had fun sort
Oh,
of making out with
yes.
Jews
Of
like you
course.
do when you're doing that kind of stuff.
Course. Yeah. Did
And
that famous Carmen Calixto Bieto, and it's
that's
like,
right.
there's always a naked person somewhere. And there's, yeah, right, exactly. But
Marina, there wasn't any nudity in this production, amazingly. Marina did
what?
that with you, right? Marina Costa
Costa
Jackson?
Jackson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She
absolutely, in
did her
Paris.
first Carmen with me a year or two
Oh,
ago.
super fun.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah, yeah, no, Marina, and then Ginger, and then I don't know the other one, but she just wasn't around AVA so much. But yeah, no, that was with Marina. There were a bunch of I did like 16 performances or something. So I had 3 different Michaelas, I had 2 different Carmens, and 2 different Escamillos, and it was super crazy fun. But I was happy to do it. I was happy to have that kind of long, and that's kind of segues into my next thing. It's like, do you guys? I'm sure you do, as you were talking about in the scheduling, try and favor gigs where you're going to be in one place longer, than shorter, kind
Yeah,
of a
yeah.
thing. Like
I
if
mean,
anybody wants to offer a back-to-back contract, I'm sure you guys are like, yes, done.
yeah. And
Yeah,
we've done a bunch of together gigs that
that's awesome.
we might not otherwise do unless it was together. Like it
Right?
makes it
Yeah,
much more
sure.
worth it financially
Of
to do it
course.
together, and also fulfillment wise to be with the family and doing it together. But those kind of gigs, which we have coming up, we're going to do Zalame together. She's going to do our first Zalame in Cincinnati.
Oh my God!
Exciting.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to
Yeah.
be exciting. And when that's where grandparents save the day. I mean, if the episode is titled "Grandparents Save the Day," that is the situation where it happens. And we've worked together several times. We worked together in Virginia doing. We're going to be working together in Virginia.
Great.
I don't even know what is publicly announced that I'm allowed to spill.
Well,
Well, let's just say if it's not
I don't want to
announced on
get
their
you in trouble
website
here.
yet, let's not spill the beans on that on too
We're
many
going
Let's
to be
just
places.
say
working together in Virginia on something. And
Well, maybe
perfect.
I'll do like a Romeo and Juliet, like in Toledo or something.
we
Or
did Romeo and Juliet in Toledo, which was great. We did Traviata in Toledo. We
Oh,
fell in
nice.
love singing together in Charlotte, and then also it was a
Oh,
co-production with Toledo.
oh,
So
yeah,
nice.
we've done a bunch of stuff in Toledo for that reason. Actually, the guy who's running Toledo now, Jim Norman, was the MC at our wedding,
Oh,
and,
wow.
and Kevin Bilsma, the music guy there, was there at our wedding too. He played piano a little bit. He was
Oh,
that's
super
great.
he was a guest.
fun.
So yeah, it was
But to your
that's our
point,
sort of
when
family
you're
family
both
affair.
away at rehearsal, what do the kids do? That's when the grandparents come in, and I think all of us have
Right.
stories upon stories upon stories. I mean, Christina and I are about to fly her father out to Kansas so that he can take care of Millie because I'm still on the road here and Christina has to fly out for a work function. So it's just, yeah, it's like when they say it takes a village, I mean, it really is important for you young singers out there that are thinking about pursuing this type of career to understand that this is how it happens. It's like, it doesn't just, I mean, yes, you can pay to have a nanny come on the road with you, but then you're talking about a whole other expense and a whole other, room in the apartment or an additional
Their
hotel room,
flights, another
another
meal at
flight.
every yeah, no, it's huge.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
we all have friends that have done
that's
that too, but yeah, it
that's
gets
another level. I
expensive.
mean, I'm sure Brian, when you're at your level, you could have maybe managed something
I
like that, but
mean, we entertained it, and then we looked at the numbers and we're like, "Wow." Yeah, because we were gonna. Well, I mean, we are just gonna have Irini's sister come and do it, and that would have been super fun. But I mean, we spent a lot of time in Paris and London, not cheap places. So to get a place big enough in London, you're paying another 850 a week on top of the what 1500 you're paying already. It's like
oh, I
if
think
you're
so.
paying $3,000 a week and you spend $12,000 for the month, and if you have a mortgage back home, it's like that's I look back at some of those things like, yeah, that was fun. Oh yeah, that was a great contract. And I was like, where did all that money go? Oh, it mainly went in traveling and eating out all the time.
Yeah.
Because you get the tax write off for a lot of that stuff. But
All that means is you don't have to pay the taxes on the money that you already made. It doesn't mean that there's more.
Yeah, it's like you still gotta
but
spend it.
again, they take it out before you ever see it. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
in most of those
London.
countries, you don't ever when the money hits the account, you're like, oh great. Oh wait, it's so much less. Great.
25% less.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, and then you got to cover what it is in with your American taxes, depending on what you're doing. So I mean, anyway, it's tricky, but
Yeah.
thank God for grandparents, absolutely.
Exactly. I mean, that's the only. I mean, and not only thank God for grandparents, but my wife's parents specifically are very enthusiastic travelers, and they've
Oh,
just
great,
gone everywhere
That's
with us.
amazing.
that's
Um,
awesome.
and they pay their own way, and
Wow,
it's the only. That's why I'm saying it's the only way we can make this. I can't imagine a situation where like an average person without this
sure,
incredible
yeah,
blessing that we have would be able to make
Right.
yeah.
it this way. Like it's just not.
I remember when I sang a lot with Iglesias Gutierrez, and her mom would come around and
Yep.
and essentially be the nanny and take care of when Lucia was young.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like if you, I think kind of getting back to your point, Weston, when it's a woman who's having the career as well, and having in those early years when so much of the child rearing is just mommy mommy mommy. At least it was for me. I mean, our first daughter would let me do stuff, but our baby, she was like mommy mommy mommy. I had to go to feed her. No, mommy, I go change her diaper. No, I was like, okay, you're definitely mommy. She's grown out of that, but I was like, damn, I can't even help. Like I'm trying to help and I can't even help. So there's just all these different things to consider. But so you guys spend a lot of time in Europe. And one of the things we were thinking about talking about with you is like, because you guys have your fingers on the pulse of what's going on, over there. Because really, I haven't sung over in Europe except for once post COVID. So like, I don't know what things are like. I see online and I hear from my buddies, but we'd love to hear firsthand from you guys, like what's happening over there right now.
Well, yeah, I'm adjacent to it. I mean, Katie's singing there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We've been in Austria. We've been in. She was just in Brussels. We were in London for an extended period. She was singing Queen at Covent Garden, and a, a little bit of the agita surrounding raising money, I think, is approaching in Europe,
Yeah.
thanks
Yeah.
to austerity from national governments and
Sure.
whatever else. I mean, Salzburg, I think I don't even understand what's happening with Salzburg. I saw some like a big announcement like that they put on Instagram that like vaguely alluded to some problem, but I don't know what it is. But
Wow.
it seems like there's something going on there. I don't know what it is. So yeah, I think that for a long time they were sheltered from the overall economic
Right.
problems that are that the first the financial crisis in 08 and 09, and then
Hmm.
COVID and everything else
Right.
has battered the American industry. But now I think who knows with the Iran war if that is going to make it even worse over there because
Sure.
so much energy
I mean,
is
we Americans can complain about gas prices all they want, but if you filled up a rental car in Europe, you have no complaints. It's like,
exactly
7.50 a gallon. Oh, great.
yeah.
No problem.
Euros per liter is hard to convert in
Yeah.
your head, but it's like yeah, multiply it by three or something.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. I remember like when I was so I did I think it's Tosca or something in Bordeaux. I was probably still at AVA when I did that. Already they were starting, patron parties because of course the wine region is very lucrative there, and so they were just trying, they were getting sponsors and then serving really nice wine and getting other people, which a lot of people have summer or like, kind of cottages, which are chateaus essentially, over down there. And it was like €1,000 a head to get into these parties and stuff. And they were already talking. I was talking with one of the administrative people about, yeah, we're trying to kind of use the US model because in places like in Paris and London, and well, London not so much, but let's say Paris, Munich, Berlin, Zurich, these places where there's a lot of money and like it's very centralized. They're still doing that, but as you say, everybody is trying to break into corporate sponsors, making these elite kind of levels of patrons to get to bolster um all the cuts that have been, I know Covent Garden has had huge cuts in the last couple
Yep.
of years,
And the
with
company that
what's
I
going
sang
on
for
there.
the other day, a year, 2 years ago,
Yeah,
E&O,
yeah.
they've had a variety of different issues that they're trying to meet. So yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think, we were talking about this a little bit, that opera for at least Italy, Germany, and France is like baseball and American pie, or apple pie rather for Americans, right? It's so
right.
much it's like, 4th of July celebration. We're always going to spend money on fireworks and stuff because we have that nationalistic pride thing. And certainly for the Italians and the Germans and the French and more. But if those are the big three opera languages, those places are going to be, I mean, Italy will still be having operas. The Colosseum can fall down. They will still be putting on operas in the street. Uh, they will have Wagner festivals and Bayreuth. All of opera can go away. That will still be happening. I mean, we see right now with the Tristan and Isolde at the Met. It's sold better. They added a performance. I mean,
Yeah,
of standard repertoire that hasn't happened
for a while.
in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
new
and
rep.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you've talked about it yet, but, like, Chalamet, like, have you talked about on the pod the whole Chalamet thing?
We had
We put his
a little
headshot on one of our
mention.
episodes the other day.
I just like, the dynamics are very different in
Yeah.
Europe from
Yeah.
America in terms of that. Like,
Sure.
he has a legitimate point. I'm interested to hear your take. I have to listen to
Yeah.
that episode.
Sure.
But, like, he's correct in to some degree about America, about people not caring about it, like,
Right.
but, like, sort of nobody's ever cared about it. I mean, opera in Italy, there was like a distinctive era where it was a very populist art form.
Right.
And in France, people came to the opera, but it's never been like folk music. There's always been folk,
No.
but it's
Yeah.
like it's always kind of been a little different. So it's not like if we compare it to the heyday of opera in Italy, of
Hmm.
course, like it's not like people aren't showing up to an opera the way they show up to a ball game, which I freaking love. I love those old recordings of Corelli,
Well, yeah.
singing Vittoria and getting drowned out by
Right.
applause for 3 minutes. Like that's
Palermo and
that we can all aspire to someday sing somewhere where
Absolutely.
that's going to happen.
Parma, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I would love to talk. I would love to talk more about that because I think it's a conversation that is nuanced and complex, and we have a lot of hurdles in this country for the average. Let's just call him a theater goer. Anybody who goes and pays for a live performance somewhere, whether it be Broadway or straight theater or opera or the symphony or the ballet, anywhere where you pay money and you get into a theater and you all watch something that's being live, that's already a kind of like elevated class, right? To have money, we growing up, we didn't have money to go see live stuff. The only live theater I ever went to was like kid stuff, and then plays that I was actually in myself.
Mhm.
And it's very easy for people who are well traveled to be like, well, you should go to Europe. Why do you go to Disney World every year? Well, take a family of 4 to Europe and pay $6,000 like we're doing this summer just to get them over there. If you've got 10, 15,000 to spend on a summer vacation, well, God bless you, right? I
Well, that's a
love
week
that.
at Disney World anyway. What are you talking about? So
Not really though. I mean, even you know what I mean. It's like, yeah, it can be, but I mean, it's just like the language is a hurdle. The fact that that you have to really learn how to listen because it's not amplified. I think that's a hurdle.
When I was first getting into, I
Yeah.
mean, when I was deciding whether to do music or not after
Hmm.
college, because I double majored in poli-sci music, and I
I
was
remember that.
like,
Yeah.
I talked to my priest at the time. I've been a church for a
Okay.
long time, but
Yeah.
this is like the only useful thing he ever said to me. It was if you don't believe in God, like this was the moment that like, he was
Sure.
he had a useful moment suddenly in his life, and he
I love
said,
it.
I said to him, I'm concerned about going into this line of work because it's like I feel like I'm doing it, I'm good at it to some
Yeah.
degree, and
Yeah.
like but it feels like I'm having gone to church, like it feels like I'm just performing for rich people. I'm like I'm a monkey, a performing monkey for rich people, and
sure.
it feels like it's not going to be a fulfilling like thing to do. It's not going to be useful in the way that I should be useful. And he was
Right.
like, "Well, you should consider that it's the rich people that need their hearts softened most of all.
Wow.
It's
I didn't see it going there, but damn.
the rich people that need to the crash course in empathy. Like these people are the people that need this the most.
Wow.
Poor people are familiar with suffering. They're familiar with. They are automatically more empathetic in the understanding of the church, and I think I agree with that.
Is this an
And
Orthodox
it's these
priest?
people
Or is this Orthodox?
that need it. Yeah, my grandfather was actually a priest,
Oh wow,
Russian
yeah.
Orthodox priest. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Um,
Irini obviously with the Greeks they're Orthodox, and so we have know a good bit about that more than I would have normally known. So yeah, I love that's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, that meant something to me. It's like the only
Sure.
thing he ever said that meant to me. His sermons, his idea of a sermon in a regular Sunday church was like to like read the lives of the saints from like 900 or like centuries and centuries ago. I'm like, the purpose of a sermon is to move
Right.
all that old stuff into the present day. But he never
Agreed.
said anything about the present day other than like vaguely castigating the society for being
I mean, I know
corrupt or
Greek
whatever.
Orthodox. I mean, something that I didn't realize, but Greek Orthodox services are actually in Middle Greek, so not in ancient Greek, which people who study Greek study. Modern Greek, which is what everybody says, and then Middle Greek, which nobody understands except the clergy. So Irini's like, yeah, we sit
Church
there and we
Greek,
don't
yeah.
even, we kind of know some, Christos Anesti. Okay, great, got that one. Yeah, okay, I'm in. And it's like, but like for a lot of the prayers, they're like, womp, 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 womp,
It's like Latin for
womp.
Italians, yeah.
Yeah, and so
Right.
it's kind of like, oh, okay, guys. But anyway, just kind of getting back to
Sorry for our
no,
field.
no, not at all, not at all. Just getting back to why it matters, because I've still got a lot of people that I'm in contact with, or at least connected to through social media, dancers, chorus people, yeah, of course, lots of the professional or the kind of famous singers and such. But I'm still like seeing the people that were, again, like, in the dance corps or in the chorus, like they are out there figuring it out and making things happen at places like Opera North, or I got a lot of people in Paris who are now working at Versailles, like this, they kind of opened up the Royal Opera there. I mean, just to think, like in Paris, you've got Bastille, you've got Garnier, Champs-Élysées, you have now the Versailles, and there's the Radio France orchestra, and then there's another, there's all this stuff that's going on. I mean, it's like New York used to kind of be able to compete with that. London sort of, but like Paris, oh man, they've got a lot going on there. And
Yeah, and Katie
um
hasn't sung in Paris yet. She's, I think, singing in Paris soon. That's another thing I don't know if I can talk about or not, but
no, yeah.
that'll
Well,
be
that's a
that'll
long
be a
time coming, yeah, for sure. But
well, she just sang a Romeo and Juliet concert in Paris, so I should say that. But she's doing, I think, working
Mhm.
at Paris Opera soon.
I love it. I love
Yes.
it. Yeah,
Good.
I mean, there's just yeah, so many great things going on there. But I mean, Paris, you know, again, it's a big part of the fabric of their society and national pride, French Grand Opera, and all this kind of stuff. And I remember when I was working there, the casting director and one of the we were having lunch, was saying yeah, there's like the 30 or 35% of everyone involved in a show in France has to be French.
Hmm.
So you can get your soloists from somewhere else, but that's why a lot of the, you know, certainly the chorus, backstage, all these people, they are French and they have to be, or else they stand to lose their funding.
Mm.
So it's interesting. I mean, France does like to kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing. But I think there's something really valuable about that. That says, we're proud of this. We're going to invest in keeping it alive, and
Well, and
you
it's, I
know,
mean,
yeah,
the economics of it, like, again, the economics of opera, again, like in
hmm,
Italy, like maybe it was like a hit show where it was actually profitable. But Kirk
right,
Meacham, who I did a world premiere of in Milwaukee many years ago now,
okay,
used to get asked what the difference was between opera and musical theater, because the piece that we
hmm,
did was, but he said
yeah,
the difference between musical theater and opera is that musical theater makes money and opera costs money. And I
yeah,
think that that is a fair, like, as fair a differentiation between the two as I've heard, because I don't think
hmm,
that there is a genuine, like, um, substantial difference. Like, there's talking in some operas, like it's in fire language.
right,
Well, it's like Light in the Piazza or whatever. I don't know. Is any of that in
yeah,
Italian? But like,
Mm.
the difference is truly like economically based, and what are they trying to do, the people that make it, and the people that try are making musical theater are trying to make money, and the people that are making opera are trying to make art and less concerned about making money. And
sure.
obviously
I
the
mean, I think
administration has to be concerned about it, but
yeah, I agree, and I think as you kind of put your finger on earlier, the difference between high art and folk art, and I'm not trying to say, I mean, high implies better. That's not what I mean. It's just a term that just kind of trying to make the difference, the differentiation there. Um,
just
just
more,
be
I don't know, it's a different style of art. It's a different, you can make art for the masses, and
yeah,
you can make art that is a little difficult to access. The thing that I always said about opera is that it's true. It remains true to this day, 20 years after I first came up formulated this idea. There's
hmm,
something about singing in an opera with an orchestra and like experiencing that is distinct. Like, it creates a distinct
yeah,
feeling in my body, and
sure,
it like accesses a truth with capital T that I haven't
yeah,
been able to find in any other kind of art. Like, I love film. I love going to the museum and looking at sculpture and visual art and everything else. But and you can get feelings from all of these things, obviously. But something about the way that opera works is distinct and worthy of maintaining and worthy of propagating to everybody, I think.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I think that's exactly
yeah,
what we just need to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to experience. And I think, most of the companies in America have been trying their best to do that, right? With all their different community education outreach programs,
hmm,
doing sometimes updated productions in an attempt to, connect more or in a different way. Um,
right,
Oftentimes, smaller companies will sometimes perform the operas in English as opposed to their original language. So there's been attempts over time to try to make this more um, connected to, let's say, just the average person, But I tend to think of it kind of like the Olympics, right? It's like what we do has always been explained in our circles as Olympic feats, right? It's like
yeah,
the amount of time and effort and energy that we spend on training and practicing and honing our crafts and is similar to that of an Olympic athlete. But then you think about, like, I don't know, any professional sporting event, like a football game or a soccer match or a tennis match or anything, right? It's like there are people in some, let's take the sports that are only involved. There's no American football in the Olympics, at least I don't think. Not yet. So
right,
if you think about the sports that you can go see, and then that sport is also in the Olympics, right? It's like there's a difference between an Olympic athlete and a professional athlete and an amateur athlete, right? And sometimes the professional athlete is an Olympic athlete. And so I don't know. I think that oftentimes what you find in America are, and I mean, this is just about to open up a whole bag of worms, but you have every single university offering a vocal performance program. So you have
Right.
all these singers, and trust me, they will take your tuition dollars without batting an eye. So you've got all these
Incentive.
singers that are being in some way or another promised that they will become a professional opera singer, right? All across the country.
I'm gonna push back even there.
Push back. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. How many college basketball, baseball, football teams are there? You know that number more than I do.
A lot.
How many of them are
All of
guaranteed to
them.
be professional? How many are guaranteed to be a professional
Well, no
athlete
one's
in whatever their
guaranteed,
sport
and I'm
is?
sure that I certainly hope that their
But
teachers are
and
not
I'm
saying, "I
yeah.
guarantee you that you're gonna be,"
Well,
but
I guess I'm pushing more back against the Renee Fleming kind of thing than what you just said right there, because I kind of know like that. Yeah, that we had talked about that a little bit before. Um, but maybe this is a great time for Zach to chime in because you guys know what we said because we talked about it. But let's hear what he has to say, and then
Well,
we'll kind of round
I think
table this.
I agree that the incentive structure can be skewed. If you look at the way that the economics of universities work, if it is to the advantage of the music department to get more people as majors, then they are going to try to get more people as majors, and there's nothing like morally wrong with that. But the result of it could be that a lot of people that shouldn't be music majors end up being music majors
Uh
and
huh.
believing that they should move on from there. And so, I think that's a structural problem. And I don't know, there's not a way to address it on on a macro level. It's just like the way that the
right.
university system has evolved. And like, so the intra university politics of departments against each other, trying to poach students to improve their own budgets. Like that probably that could happen. I think. I
Yeah.
am not familiar enough with the details of how universities work, but as a broad story, that could be an issue. But like I don't
Yeah.
know, that's kind of like having too many mediocrely prepared singers instead of a few like really well prepared singers is I don't know. It's different than the question of how opera gets to people in general as performing.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. That's very true.
I mean, I just wanted one thing that I wanted to go back and harken on the last thing that you guys were talking about, the outreach and kind of just um, being able to expose young people to operatic singing, classical singing. I remember the first time that I heard an opera singer, I was in, and so probably it was like fourth, fifth grade, something like that. And one of my music teachers, buddies, who was in the Lindemann program, which was not called that at the time, but at the Met, came down and sang for us, and we were like, "Holy smokes! This is I've never heard such a complex sound before. Not especially not out of a human being, 10 feet away from me."
Right.
And I think that visceral, as you were saying, Zach, whatever it is that grabs you when somebody sings in that way close to you. I mean, I see it every time. Like Weston came down and we did this Opus Opera thing that Irene and I started, where it was about vocal music in non-traditional places like wine bars and stuff. Anyway, the point was that you could get up close and hear somebody singing 5-6 feet away from you and be like, "Whoa, that's just," you get goosebumps. You get like makes your ears ring. Whatever it is, there's something in it's a very organic in a digital age where everything seems to be kind of put into ones and zeros, that I think our person and our artistic self and our being just is like, whoa, there's something that I don't quite understand about that, and I don't know why it's making me feel that way, but it's compelling.
Yeah,
And
I think it has to
so
do with not being mediated. Like I
yeah.
mean, it's funny to say that it's not mediated because it's opera mostly in a foreign language written by
Right.
somebody 200 years ago. And it's
Right.
like, but something about it when you have a person deciding
Yeah.
to make those sounds right next to you in that moment, and there's nothing in between you. There's no
Yeah.
microphone, there's no
Yeah.
sound guy in the back boosting the
Right.
mid range or whatever. It's just you just hear all of it and you're right there, and it's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
cool.
And then kind of just get back to what Weston was saying, and I just was playing devil's advocate there a little bit because he and I are on the same page with just about everything. But the thing is that I do think, if you go to business school, nobody's handing you a business unless your father or somebody like you're going to get it. But you know what I mean? It's like, if you go to business school, nobody says you're going to be a successful business person. If you go to law school, and you pass, okay, fine, and you pass the bar and all that kind of stuff. Nobody says you're gonna have a thriving law practice. You got to go out there and figure out how to make it work.
It's true.
Med school, same kind of thing. You can get through there, but if you don't get placed in your residency or you can get placed in your fellowship and all this kind of stuff, I just feel like, and this is like maybe it's just like my New Orleans boy kind of proud to be American kind of upbringing. It's like in America, if you can go and pay and you can get in, then you deserve the right to study whatever you want.
Sure.
And I don't necessarily feel that way now because I have seen many of my colleagues go hundreds of thousands of dollars into debt, which is unlikely that they'll ever make that money back in the musical arena. And I think that that's where the possible temptation of, pay, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's
It's a
I think
tricky.
the
It's a
taking
slippery
on of
slope. It's a
taking
slippery
on
slope of
debt.
like the teacher trying to encourage a student who might need that in the moment in order to do whatever,
Yeah,
and then the student mishears that and understands that they're saying that they should be pursuing this whenever they maybe shouldn't, and then they continue, and then they're not getting the right scholarship, so then they go further into debt.
right.
I mean, that's a whole other thing. But I mean, I think I don't even know how I got off talking about that. We were
No,
talking
no,
about
no. I mean,
something that made
yeah.
me think about it, but oh, maybe it was Zach talking
I
about
think it's
how musical theater is out to make money, opera is more about spending money, and it just made me think about how, like you just said, Brian, oftentimes these students are going into hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt in order to enter a field where it's just like, whew, I don't know how you think you're going to make that money back. It's very tricky.
Yeah, I mean, and like for, not just to say that it's much easier to get school loans and academic loans than it is to get any other kind of loan.
And it's
Oh,
much harder
sure,
to get out of them.
Yeah,
that's right.
exactly. School debt is even if you who was saying that, even if you declare bankruptcy, your school debt does not go away.
Yeah,
And
That's
exactly.
I was
right.
like, wow, thankfully I don't have any and I'm not looking to declare bankruptcy, but I was like, damn, that's tough. You
Yeah.
Yeah.
know?
I think
Uh
the one place where we have responsibility, and I'm sorry, Brian, you have responsibility because you're a
no,
professor,
yeah,
is that we,
absolutely.
as gatekeepers, like when people are learning about singing, they don't understand. Like there are fewer objective metrics to use to gauge
Sure.
your level of success. Like if you're a
Yes.
doctor, if you're doing really well on your tests
Right.
at medical school, you're probably going to be okay or whatever.
Yeah.
When you're a singer, I mean, and it is very difficult. I wouldn't want to be in your position, Brian, to figure out like what the industry looks like, what the industry wants is very different from necessarily how good you are.
Sure.
What level of encouragement should be given to different kinds of people for different
Yeah.
in different voice types and everything else. Like
Yeah.
it's incumbent though on like gatekeepers like yourself and the academic community generally to teach people not only how to do it, but where they place. Like you can't just
Sure.
like take a radar gun and say, "Oh, well, you can shoot 100 you can pitch 100
Right.
miles an hour, so you're going to be a
Right.
major leaguer." Like
Right.
it's much more complicated than that. Like
Well, and I think,
there
one
are certain like if
yeah.
you can sing a C when you're when you're
Yeah,
23
you're
years
probably
old,
gonna be all right. Yeah, but yeah, you gotta keep that C, right? It's tricky. The thing that I found really interesting and helpful on this subject is when I was working at Westminster Choir College. That's a choir college by definition. They do have a small opera program, and we did have had a number. I mean, back in the day, Westminster had as many voice teachers as IU does, which is like, upwards of 14 voice teachers. So huge program. And everybody who went to Westminster, whether you were a voice major or a conducting major or a piano major, organ, whatever, everybody had to take voice lessons. It was really just part of that culture. And so, but the point being is that not, and this again kind of goes against Renee Fleming, is not everybody's goal is to be at the Met.
Right.
Not everybody's goal is to be an opera singer. There's lots of church music. Okay, maybe there's less church music than there was even 20 years ago, but there are still jobs out there, music teaching jobs, as long as that's as long as we can keep that in schools, that's still, a job that's worthy of pursuing. It could be professional chorister, professional opera chorister. There's all kinds of ways and things that I think, yes, it's easy to boo-hoo. Especially, I remember I felt similarly to what Renee Fleming was saying when I was singing, but having spent, probably about 4 or 5 years now in the academic side, I feel like it's a much more nuanced conversation that needs to be had. And I think that that's different. Take AVA, right? Take any of these programs that are tuition free. I feel like there's a lot less on their heads because, again, people are not, rather than having money to buy a first house, they have a degree, from wherever, conservatory X, that cost them $200,000, and they're going to have to start paying that off. And by the time, it's time to try and find a house or something, and be like, where am I going to get a job that can cover all of this?
Well, and just for
And
anybody
that's,
who's
yeah.
jumping in on this conversation, because we've referenced Renee Fleming's comment a couple of times, does anybody remember the exact quote or what it was that? Can you paraphrase, Brian?
Sure. He was at the Voice Foundation, Dr. Sadaloff, Zach from the AVA days.
Well, it was there.
That's his thing. Yeah. And he was,
Oh,
he was the one who was interviewing her.
oh, really? I didn't even know it was still kicking.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And so this is, and she was saying, yeah, I wish I don't want to misspeak, but it was something to the paraphrasing extent of that, academic institutions these days should be ashamed of themselves for selling the dream and taking all this money from people who they know good and well don't have the vocal material to actually be able to have an operatic career. And that's as best as I can summarize without. I mean,
Well,
again,
yeah,
it
and I
was
mean,
months
I don't
ago,
know
and
if I
saw
don't
it.
know if
But
she mentioned it then at that in that same segment, but this idea of like if you haven't made it by the time that you're 30, you probably aren't going to make it. I mean, that's just another one of those old school comments that
yeah,
I think
I don't know if,
I know I
yeah,
grew up with. You know what I mean? And
right.
I've heard a lot of, let's say, singers that are in their early 30s now or even late 20s, that if they studied with a teacher
Hmm.
who had a big career in the 80s and 90s, that was just that was a common theme, that would get
Right.
talked about. Um, and
Well, I
to
mean,
your
the
point,
the opera world, yeah,
I
right.
Depending
was
on the
gonna
voice
say to
set.
your point, there
Sure.
there's so many variety of different ways of pursuing a career as a singer or as a musician that yeah, okay, well, okay, not everybody has the dream, like you said, to sing at the Met or in Europe or
Right.
wherever. You know what I mean? It's like now
Right.
knowing it and being in it, I think a successful career is piecing together a variety of different things that come together. And I think that
The gig
Yeah.
economy.
what's that?
Mhm.
The gig economy. Yeah, we gotta.
The gig
The gig
economy, yeah,
economy.
absolutely. Well,
That's
I
right.
mean, yeah, and like, pretty much everybody at some point, if you're a singer, gives voice lessons to some extent, right? And so would you just not, argue that, like, well, being a better, knowing about singing and how to teach and all this stuff, that's bettering everybody, your students and yourself. And oh gosh, there was something else that I was going to say along the same lines. I don't know. Somebody take over, and I'll come back to it.
Well, just on that point, and I'm actually looking it up because I was trying to get the exact age correct on this.
Yeah.
But to that argument of like, well, if you haven't made it by the time that you're 30, whatever, there is a
Oh
woman
yeah.
by the name of Toni Marie Palmertree, and I don't know if y'all have recently seen the story that she
Oh
has.
yeah. I didn't get to
Opera
read it,
Wire
but
just did it.
yeah.
Yeah, it's an
Go
amazing
ahead.
story. So I mean, I don't know if I want to get into all of the details, but I mean, this is a woman who, speaking of hurdles, has had to jump through many, including going through cancer and all these different
Right.
things. But here we are now, and I think she's at the age of 44, if I'm not mistaken, and she will
Yeah.
be making her Met debut as Chocho-san. I think like it was this week. I think very, very, very
Oh,
recent,
wow.
but yeah, she talk about overcoming significant adversity in order to, pursue this career in a way. But she talks about having numerous holes in her schedule early on, and trying to put together
Right.
things, and then getting back into singing, and trying to make her way through, and the big program she did, Marilla, and was an Adler fellow, but not until she was like 30. And so
Wow.
and then she had this like stage 4 uterine cancer that she had to sort of find treatment in. It was just crazy to begin to like compare that to some of the stories that we grew up with, where it's like, I
Right.
mean, I guarantee you that there are dozens of singers or hundreds of singers out there who, just because they didn't make it by the time they were at whatever cutoff age their teacher had told them about, which is unfortunate,
Right.
just decided to go a different direction, and it's like, I don't know,
Yeah.
if we can find what it is that we do from a perspective of trying to like share this art form with everybody, and share it in a way that
Yeah.
I don't know, makes the difference in their lives, and is able to connect to them, like what you were saying, Zach, that feeling of like hearing live performance. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, how therapeutic that can be on its own, and what a difference it
If
can
there's
make in
one
someone's
trope
life.
that I heard exactly. If there's one trope that I heard growing up that I understand where they're coming from, but I don't really agree with it, is that if you are not passionate, if you can do anything else other than
Right.
this job, you should do something else. I
Yeah.
don't quite agree with that. Like, I mean, I understand it, and it is. I think it's a fine way to think about it generally, like to encourage people who are uniquely passionate about this specific art form to do it. But like, yeah, I don't know. I think I could do other things,
Yeah. No,
but I
I
choose to
Well,
agree
do
with you.
I think
Yeah, I agree with you
we've had
100%.
Dana Lynn Varga on our show, and I think that she has kind of coined the phrase: "If you can think of doing anything other than being an opera singer, well, then you should do that too." Right? This idea of a correlating
Right.
career, so that you're able to pursue your passion in music, but then you're also able to do XYZ. Now, if you can find a correlating career that offers a flexible schedule so that you can literally do both at the same time, all the better. Something like being a realtor, or doing something virtually,
novelist.
Some kind of
being a
virtual, like
novelist. There you go.
coding or building websites, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. 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 Well, I don't know if we
Yeah, when
solved
But
all.
COVID
yeah,
started, I definitely crosstalk. When COVID started, I definitely like went to coding, like took Code Academy, like did my first like course in coding, and then I was like, oh, I'm not good at this. And then lo and behold, like a few years later, nobody's coding anymore, and nobody ever will ever again because of AI.
is that true?
Well, then
I
we
mean,
learn how
My
to do it with
it's the
God.
AI,
thing that
right?
AI is best at is coding at this point.
Exactly, right.
How crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
what I was trying to say was, I don't know if we solved all of the world's problems today in our talk, but we certainly
Right.
opened up some worms, cans of worms,
Can
and
of worms. Yeah.
I think I think it's important for young singers to understand that, like, no one knows the answers, right? We're just basing it off of what experiences we've had and what we think might be. And well, I mean, even doctors, they're just practicing medicine, right? They're just practicing. They
Right.
don't really know what they're doing.
I would love to get paid to practice singing.
Kind of are.
Any
Because that's another thing, right? They don't.
final thoughts, Zach, about the life of I don't know, getting back to the title, Grandparents Save the Day. I mean, how how that has been or continues to be something that I don't know. Is that the world that you thought
I
you'd live in?
I just am full with gratitude for all of the people in my life who allow me to be able to do this, and I recognize, walking through the world, how fortunate I am to have such a network of people that support my ability to do what I do, and Katie's ability to do what she does, my wife.
Yeah.
And it's like uh, I can't. I'm a middle aged white guy talking about how great it is. So I don't know. I don't know if
I hear you.
I did fine, but I you know I
Yeah.
hope to broaden the experience. I mean, in union negotiations that Katie and I have sought to expand possibilities, especially for nursing moms, because she went through that, and she went through like having a pump in the freaking closet or whatever because they don't have anywhere where you can sit and do that.
Oh
Like
God.
for regular people who are
Right.
trying to do this and trying to get things together, who are not incredibly fortunate to have grandparents to travel everywhere, to have a network of friends and parents that are supportive, like to broaden that out. Our responsibility is just to make the infrastructure of opera more accessible to regular people, whether as singers or as audience.
Well,
I love it, dude.
I think that as we move forward, I think we all need to give each other a little bit more grace and patience, and you never know what somebody might be going through. And so I think it's a
Weston, why don't
yeah.
you just suck it up, buddy? Suck
What?
it up. Okay. Just suck it up. No, I love what you're saying. I love what you're saying. I just, I love that for everybody in opera and everybody in the world, man. This world right now is so much like, hooray for me and the hell with you, man. So yeah, meet everybody with grace. What was that thing that was going around? You never know the silent battle some people are fighting. Everybody's fighting something on the inside, and you just don't know. Yeah,
Empathy, and that's what empathy is about. Come on, that's what
absolutely.
Pinkerton discovers in Butterfly, right? Like he
Right.
discovers he didn't know what was going on in somebody else's mind, and you gotta think about it. You gotta think about what other people have to.
I mean,
This is
Sharpless
true.
did do
This
his
is true.
best to try and be like, "You sure she came down to the consulate talking about changing her religion? Like, are you sure you know what you're getting yourself into here, buddy? I know it's America
I
forever."
try in the opera to be the voice of reason.
Yeah.
So many told you so's. I'm telling you, there are like
Yeah.
7 different told you so's.
Oh man, well, it's
You
been
forgot
such
about it? Let me
great
sing a
fun.
song about it.
Hey, yeah, right, exactly. Oh my
All right.
God.
Well, thanks so much for joining us on this episode, and
Thanks
be
for
sure to
having me.
like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
See you then.
Thanks for joining us on Between the Notes. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
And join us next week for more behind-the-scenes stories, laughs, and operatic gold coming your way.